651, 1320 WILS. Well, it's a new year now. Well, second month of the new year. Have you been getting in shape? Did you have any New Year's resolutions? Have you already stopped? Well, let's try to get motivated. Let's talk to Warren Honeycutt, author of Get Lean for Life, a man who's for many decades now been exercising his body. He's a bodybuilding champ and an exercise expert. Warren, great to have you here.
Great to be back with you, Mike. How are you doing?
Good. I remember last time we talked, I was pondering exercising, and I never really got there. Although I should tell you, I got this Fitbit thing. Are you familiar with this Fitbit? And it tells me my heart rate, which is currently 87. But the really frightening part is I can go over 100 beats per minute sometimes without doing very much of anything. Is that a problem, you think?
Well, it is potentially a problem longer term, Mike, because the heart rate at best is somewhere between 70 to 75 beats per minute. And when you do anything, and I'm not talking about running marathons, but I'm talking about just exercising, moving, and getting the heart rate up, it does tremendous things for not only circulatory, but the respiratory system and overall health.
So what if I'm getting to 100 beats per minute without really even moving my body? What does that mean to me?
What that means is overall, as it relates to circulatory and respiratory, your body's not in great shape.
Mm-hmm. Now, what do you mean by that? So it's beating 100 times a minute without activity. That means what about my heart?
It would mean that there's potentially some blockage. Don't want to scare you at all because I'm not a doctor and certainly don't want to diagnose, especially over the phone. But it could mean that there's some challenges as it relates to getting in better shape. And obviously you want to talk to your doctor about that. I don't know when the last time you had a physical.
No, it's been a while. It might be worth doing it. Hey, tell me this, Warren. What do you think your heartbeat is, beats per minute? Well,
mine runs about 75 beats a minute. But then I will get it up to, Mike, 150 beats a minute during, my aerobic activity. And that keeps my...
You do that every day then?
No, I do that about 3 times a week. And then I do just low-impact aerobic just to help my heart rate along at about 120, 25 beats a minute. And I do that a couple of times a week.
And you do 150 beats a minute. That's pretty ferocious. And how long would you try to keep your heart beat that fast?
About 10 minutes.
That's it?
Yeah. It's called HIIT, high-intensity interval training. And, one of the great benefits, Mike, of doing that is not only the health benefits for the heart and the lungs, but it also keeps the metabolism up for several hours after you finish. In other words, you burn fat.
And
much quicker,
do you have to go running, or how do you get your heart moving that fast?
Well, what you do is the target heart rate is about 85 to 86, 7 beats. Excuse me, let me say that again. The formula, that'll be the simplest way to say it. The formula is take 220 minus your age. In other words, if you're 60, 220 less 60 is 100 and, 60?
Yeah.
And then you multiply times 85, which would...
so mine's 177. So I got to get up to 177? That's pretty intense.
That is very intense, and you certainly wouldn't want to do it without working up to it. The high-intensity interval training is a strenuous thing. You certainly don't want to start with it, Mike. It could be devastating.
Talking to Warren Honeycutt, author of Get Lean for Life. Honeycutt.com is the website. Because, I feel like I'm generally okay. It's just I put this Fitbit thing on, suddenly I'm like, wow, it's not like I'm hard. I'm breathing hard. You know what I'm saying, Warren?
Yeah.
But suddenly I see the number and I go, that's pretty high.
That especially without any exertion other than maybe just walking, Mike. That's something to number one, give some consideration to. Number two, get that checkup.
Yeah.
And make sure that everything is good. And if it is all good, and he says, do some light exercising. Start easy. I've seen people forever think that they can, at 42 years old, go back to what they were doing in at a university football program at 22, mess their whole back, legs, everything up, and they can't do anything for months or maybe forever. So,
but let me just say this: I do have one of these stationary bikes, and I try to, I've done it occasionally in the mornings. but it's 2-3 days later. I'm just not feeling the desire to go back to it again. Mm-hmm. How do you maintain? Because you've been doing this for decades now. How do you maintain that motivation? How do you form maybe even an addiction to doing this kind of thing?
Well, what I do and what I recommend and help with all my clients, Mike, is to help them understand the benefits, number one, and then set a goal for yourself that motivates you. Motivation comes from the Latin word move, or to move. Mm-hmm. So to get motivated means to move. Our bodies are made to move. We feel better. We live better when we move and are active.
So how is it so many of us can feel just fine without moving so much?
Well, we fool ourselves into thinking we're feeling good.
Okay, but you're saying we're really not. So really it's almost like we don't know how much better we could feel. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And a new habit might takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get in-ground into the subconscious. Mm-hmm. And the key is you put that in the subconscious, and the way you do it is self-discipline for that 3 or 4 weeks, and then it becomes to form a habit.
But tell me this, though. Habits are great, but how do you deal with the boredom? Because there's something just incredibly boring about exercising, especially alone. How do you overcome that?
Okay, you hit the nail on the head. You find somebody that you can enjoy an activity with and do it routinely and regularly. Mm-hmm. And I always encourage people to find something that you enjoy doing. I mean, if it's pure drudgery, good grief, why do you want to go through that? Mm. But there's got to be something in everyone's life that makes them feel better and more alive if they move. I mean, it can be sports, tennis, golf, if you're walking the golf course, swinging the grandchild, taking a morning walk with your spouse.
But walking certainly does. I mean, I've checked my heartbeat out. I go maybe 110 walking, but I mean, that doesn't seem to really do much. Doesn't get me anywhere near 177.
Well, now, let's back up, and I don't want to mislead you or anyone, Mike. You don't have to do what I said in regard to HIIT to have the benefits for the heart and the respiratory system. And if you do a routine, I call it power walk. Well, it is power walking. And your heart rate, in all probability, will get to about 125 or 30. And you know what I'm talking about. You take a long stride, and you swing your arms up and down. You look really silly doing it. But when you're doing it by yourself and no one's watching, who cares, right? Yeah. So doing that about 20 to 25 minutes every other day is a tremendous way to help with the lungs, heart, weight control.
Do you feel that you have, let's say, an addiction to exercising yourself?
I do, because I realized a long time ago, I'm talking about as a teenager, Mike, that I didn't have a choice of whether I paid a price or not. The only choice I had was which price I wanted to pay. Mm-hmm. And to exercise 4 or 5 hours a week for feeling great 164 hours, looking good, or, well, let's just say looking better than I would if I were 100 pounds overweight, then that to me was a great choice.
Yeah, you think you would have been 100 pounds overweight?
Yeah, I probably would have. I was a sugarholic. We probably talked about this before on earlier shows, but I was a sugarholic when I was a teenager, and I ate sugar all day long. I was overweight.
And now you don't? You're saying you gave up the sugar?
Yeah, that's the key, honestly, to having a good nutrition is to give up the sugar and refined flours. If you do that, you don't have to worry about all the diets and everything else that come down the pike that, is going to make you lose 10 pounds in 3 days.
Do you ever eat this sweetener? It's called stevia. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah. I use it all the time, several times a day. I still have a sweet tooth, but I satisfy it with something natural, and you hit it, stevia.
That's what I use, too. There's stuff great. You can squeeze into your water to make it kind of flavorful.
Yes, sir.
And, because I'm not a big sugar fan myself, but what I've learned is even with a good diet, without the exercise, I definitely don't have an athletic build, let's put it that way.
Well, and not the energy levels, Mike, that you would if you get into something that you enjoy. Yeah. Now, you don't. I train with weights. I just enjoy it. I always have.
What do you enjoy about it?
Well, I enjoy the challenge that I give myself. I enjoy the results that I get. It's kind of like Jack LaLanne used to say. He said, people ask me all the time, you must love to exercise. And Jack's reply was, I hate to exercise, but I do love the result. And that is what I get out of the resistance training.
Okay. And you get the endorphin rush too, though, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, and it's like this. A lot of us don't necessarily like our job, but we like the results of going to work and getting paid.
And the payment for lifting weights is what?
Well, the payment is increase in, of course, strength, mobility, flexibility, and bone density.
Right. And I've got a minute here, Warren. I need to ask you: do you do yoga? Are you into this yoga thing?
I don't do yoga, but I do stretch. I had a background in martial arts, and so I do stretch, and that is a very key element of being physically fit is flexibility.
Because it seems like with weightlifting or running, that stretching doesn't happen very often, though.
No, you really do have to do some stretching exercises to complement the weight training if you do weight train. Yes, absolutely.
It's Warren Honeycutt. His book, Get Lean for Life. GetHoneycutt.com. It's Get Honeycutt with 2 T's. GetHoneycutt.com. Hey, Warren, thanks. I think I'm now ready to go.
Well, email me, Mike, and I'll be glad to help you any way I can, or call me, when we're off the air.
We'll have you on again, too. Warren, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Bye.
That is it for us.